undercover today in Washington, D.C., seeing some sites that perhaps aren't so visited. And right behind me here is the Washington Hilton Hotel, and that's where Ronald Reagan in 1981 was shot and almost died, as it turned out. We'll see if we can get a closer look at the exact spot where everything unfolded. You can maybe see that there's a little bit of like a garage entrance up here where a car could come in and park in there. That little garage wasn't there back at the time, and what would have been there is just a small door in a brick wall that you'll see up here. That small door had a little concrete overhang over the top of it. That's what was in the place of where that garage is today, and that's where Reagan would have come out, that VIP exit, getting ready to enter into his limousine, which was parked right here. And so as Reagan came out, the little door that would have been where that garage is today, there would have been media in this area over here taking video and still pictures of the president, shouting questions to him, right, as he came out the VIP exit door on the side of that wall. And it was right about where you see this plaque in the wall today, where the assassin would have been standing very close to the president. You wouldn't see anybody from the public getting this close to a president today, I'm sure, but standing right about in this area as Reagan walked out from a door in the wall across, and his limo waiting right here. And that's when 6 shots were fired very close at Reagan, and it would have been right about in this area here that Jerry Parr, the Secret Service agent who was walking very close to Reagan, as soon as these shots started, he forcefully pushed Reagan into the limo. And Jerry Parr was with Reagan for the first time that day in 1981. Reagan had only been president for a little bit over 3 months. So all of this happened very, very early in the presidency of Ronald Reagan, and it nearly ended less than 4 months in. Now, Jerry Parr, as I said, he very forcefully pushed Reagan into the limo, and as that was happening, one of the bullets actually ricocheted off of the limo and hit Reagan right under the armpit. And it wasn't really known at the time that he'd been shot. As they sped out of here, they really hauled out of here as fast as they could. And initially, Jerry Parr thought that Reagan was okay. He was not obviously badly injured, not obviously shot. Jerry Parr was running his hands all under Reagan's clothing, running his hands through Reagan's hair, all of that Brill cream, right? Trying to find any evidence of blood, and he wasn't finding any. So his initial decision that he announced over the Secret Service radio was that they were going back to Crown, as he called it. That's a code for the White House. He also announced over the radio that rawhide is okay, meaning Reagan, right? That's the code word for Ronald Reagan, was rawhide, and they said he was okay going back to the White House. Well, it was on the short drive back to the White House that Jerry Parr started to rethink that decision. With this beastly 1970s era limo fast approaching this place here, DuPont Circle, Jerry Parr starts to reconsider his initial decision to go back to the White House, because now Reagan's starting to have trouble breathing, and they think maybe it's a heart attack. Maybe all the goings on at the Hilton have caused Reagan to have a heart attack. Then he starts coughing up blood, and the blood seems to be kind of like frothy, almost like it's probably coming from his lungs or something. And so, yeah, they got to about DuPont Circle when they said, you know, I think we better go straight to the hospital. And they hauled ass over to George Washington University Hospital, which, lucky for them, was not very far away at all. Had it been any farther away, had they even gone back to the White House, it's pretty well accepted that Reagan would have died. His injuries turned out to be very serious, especially for somebody his age. And that was one of those decisions that, had Jerry Parr not made it right about here that they were not going this way but that way, it would have ended very differently. So behind me here, that is George Washington University Medical Center, where on that day a big limousine came screaming to a halt right outside this emergency room, and Reagan actually got out under his own power. He walked in through the doors of the emergency room himself, at which point accounts vary a little bit, but they all seem to say that he in some way collapsed right when he got through the doors of that emergency room, either fully collapsed onto the floor or at least down onto a knee, where he had to be sort of helped up onto a gurney, at which point some very high-end doctors went to work on him. And had this been some other town, or had the hospital been a little farther away, not as well equipped, things probably would have turned out differently on that day. He did barely make it. Nancy came rushing down after threatening to walk if they didn't bring her down here. They didn't want her to be under any kind of increased danger, but they brought her down, and she was, of course, very, very upset. You can see today this is now named the Ronald Reagan Institute for Emergency Medicine. All of that happened here on that day back in 1981, and this is how it looks today.